and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube. Hey friends, Niall Motormouth Jenkins here. We got a lot on the go here in the Car Connection Workshop, so you're going to have to keep up with us. No blinking, because you will definitely miss something. We've got part 2 here on this 2008 Nissan Rogue coming in and just coming in, going on in just a few minutes. But I want to say thank you to all our Car Connection recommended businesses that I put my stamp of approval on and my seal of approval that you'll find on our CarConnectionBusinessNetwork.com website. Those are local businesses that have been a part of Car Connection, our radio broadcast, for many, many, many years. And there's always room for you. So if you're a local business to where we are located in Ontario, we'd love to have you on board with us. If you're an out-of-town business, why not sponsor one or two or a few of our YouTube videos? Because that will also help you. So today's video brought to you by certified financial planning professionals Tony Miele, Larry Tetro with IG Wealth Management. They're fiduciaries. They look after making sure they have all the 6 pillars to your financial plan put together so that you have everything that you need to make sure that your household and everything that you have is well taken care of, especially the children. Do you have an estate plan? Do you have beneficiaries? Do you have tax planning? Do you have financial planning? All these things all make up your financial plan. And for our Car Connection listeners and viewers on YouTube, you get a 1-hour consultation, a discovery meeting to sit down and get your questions answered. So if you have a portfolio of investments with the bank, you really need to sit down with them because you are not making any money whatsoever. If you need a mortgage, you need life insurance, critical illness insurance, they have everything you need under one roof. And you have two of my brothers from other mothers. They're both my financial planners. I've known them both for 20 years, and I tell you this, get together with them, get your questions answered from those who have the fruit on the tree. Tony Miele, Larry Tetro, certified financial planners with IG Wealth Management. Well, let's jump right into this. So we did part 1 already, Skippy and I, which was how I evaluate a vehicle when I go to take a look at something I'm interested in. But you have kind of your hands tied now. Not many people want you to take it for a road test or let alone take it to your repair shop guy. They're a little standoffish with that. So how do you do it? So you got to watch video number 1 on this particular vehicle to see how I do it. I unpack the whole thing so you get to see from start to finish. Yes, we're outside today, so you're going to hear some dogs barking, people going by, vehicles going by, but we're outside. So the second part is this vehicle has been evaluated by another shop, and I want to clearly state I have their estimate here. And I'm not here to beat up the technicians that checked it over. I'm not here to beat up on the garage or the garage owner, the shop owner. I'm just here to do a second evaluation and then compare Motormouth's evaluation to their evaluation and estimate to see how close are we or how far apart are we. Because this particular vehicle is being considered putting up for sale, and the owner wants to know, what does it really need? So many times what can happen is repair shops will be a little overzealous with some things. And the reason I say that is the mechanics I worked with, they would look at something and go, yeah, on your car it needs replaced, but on mine I'm just going to service it and keep going. That's what I'm talking about. So again, I'm not here to pick apart the estimate they put together. I'm here to conduct my own inspection and evaluation. And then at the end, we're going to go through every single line. This is parts on this side. This is labor on this side. So we're going to go through what I actually find against what they are putting on paper and see how close we are. That's it. So I'm the second man in. So let's get going and let's evaluate. So at this point, we're going to start with, we're going to go right down their list the way they did. And we're going to start with suspension and steering, brakes, and anything else that might be in my way underneath. And we'll take it from there, and then we'll come back and we'll compare evaluations. I can remember everything that I see during a check over, so I don't need to stop and write it down. Mind like a steel trap. But you know, I still can't remember what I ate last week. How does that work? I don't know. It's a big IDK. All right, so we're going to kick off, Skippy. We're going to kick off the kipper. Kick the kipper on the passenger side. We're going to start on the passenger side first and sing them a song. I need my pad. I'll be right back. Yeah, so I just need my lay down and go to sleep pad. Here it is. Yeah. This is a great tool. Guys, fellas, if you don't have one, you go to the Prince of the Palace store and get yourself one, because this thing's really cool. So you're going to want to be on this side of me, and I'm going to be here. So you be on my left side, and we're going to start with just giving it a little bit of a wiggle left and right. And I do feel a little something there. There's definitely, zoom in on this if you can, Skippy. Watch the wheel itself. The rim, you'll see it move. See it moving? You can actually hear there is something going on there. So we need to find what that is. Then I'm going to take my killer here. That's what I call them. And I'm just going to give us a little up and down. See if I feel anything there. Nope. Okay. All right, I'm going to go underneath. And I should probably have grabbed the light. So I want to get you in there with me so that you can see what's going on. But when you're checking the front end, there's a point where you need the wheels on, and then there's a point when you need the wheels off when you're getting into the brakes. So I'm just going to quickly go grab a light, and I'll be back in just a moment. So if you're purchasing something or you're even selling something, you want to make sure that you know what's wrong with the vehicle, and then you tell the people. Don't hide anything, because that's being dishonest. Let them know, give them a list. Here's what it needs. So if you decide you're going to sell it as is, or if you're purchasing something as is, you want to make sure that you have a list of what it's going to need. Don't hide a single thing. Put it out there so that the potential next buyer, the next owner, is going to be able to see exactly what's going on. So let's put the light on there. And first thing I want to check is, there's the lower ball joint and control arms. That's the lower control arm. That's the ball joint. I can see, the back side of the rotors are rough here, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But just, if you can get a shot of that, Skippy, the back of the rotors, that's pretty much par for the course on almost anything on the road. If we went and looked at the Toyota FJ Cruiser, you'd see on the outside the rotor looks smooth and silky like a mirror, but on the inside they're generally rough like this, and I'm not sure why that is, but it is. But what I want to see on the brakes is how much pad do I have left, because this car sat for almost a year. So it was parked last October. So we're almost a year in. We're at the tail end of September now. So we're going to give that ball joint. And you got to remember, when you're reading front end parts, you have to understand, is it a load bearing ball joint or is it not a load bearing ball joint? How do you determine that is the type of lower control arm you have. On this one, it's a load bearing ball joint, so we have to unload it. So how do we unload it? we have to lift it and let the suspension hang. So now I'm in a position where I can check this ball joint properly and see if there's any action on it. I'm going to see if I can get this. I had it in a really good spot yesterday when I was pre-checking and making sure I had everything set up for you to come and join us. So yeah, all right, that's good. So that's what we're checking here. And so what I do is I get my bar. Hang on, I'm ruining my camera shot here. I get my bar. You may have to relocate a little bit, maybe. And I get in here underneath the tie rod end, and I want to see if I can get some movement here. So I'm going to get in there, and I got to get under there. There we go. I've got movement there. See it moving? Here, right here. Watch right here. If you can, right where my finger is pointing, watch the bottom. So it's got play. So I'm giving that. I can probably get more. I know I can get more out of it. That's all I need to know, that that's got play. All right, so now we want to see what's going on with that movement in the wheel. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky because I got the wheel on, but I need the wheel on to check this. So what I'm looking for here is side-to-side movement on the tie rod end. Tie rod end is what connects you to the wheel and to the steering wheel. So that's what makes you go left and right. So let's see if I can balance this here. I had the thing right in a good spot yesterday. Okay, Skippy, if you can reach around that tire from the other side, you'll get a really good shot at what's going on here so that they can see. And I'm going to say right now, there definitely is a problem. Yeah, any side-to-side movement on a tie rod end is bad. So you hear that? That's movement in the tie rod end, and I can also see movement in the lower ball joint. So right off the bat, I know for sure on this side, an outer tie rod end and a ball joint for sure. Okay, so I'm going to take that wheel off, and we'll have a look at the brakes on this passenger side. Then I'll go over and we'll do the same thing on the other side. And to do this outside, it's not a big deal. You got a couple of jack stands, you got your tools, and we do have some tire wear here. Now these will pass a safety, but barely. The front ones, the back ones are really, really good, but these should be moved to the back. Ideally, I would recommend a change, but I couldn't condemn these because there is at least a couple of 30 seconds left, which will get you through a safety. But there's some cracking there, and that's probably because of I know it is. It's premature tire wear because that tie rod end is loose, and I'll show you again. See that? You can really see it. So the tire has been, as I'm showing you doing this, see how it's wiggling? That's what causes this wear. So these tires could go a little bit longer if they're moved to the back and bring the back ones to the front. So I can't condemn them 100%, but I can say they'll pass a safety check. Then my recommendation to the customer would be you really need to consider changing those at some point in time soon, very soon. So then they can plan for it. So if you're looking this over for yourself, you can say, all right, I need a tie rod, I need a ball joint, And on this particular car, the lower ball joint is, just like Vanna White, control arms. So it needs a lower control arm because the ball joint is an integral part of the lower control arm. So that means it's one piece. So that's what I always do, fellas. For safety, slide your tires underneath. That's the right way to do it. So if the vehicle slid off the stands, it's going to land on the wheels. Okay, so here's what we're dealing with here. That's the tie rod right here. This baby's worn out. The socket's worn out. And I mean, it is an 08. The other thing is to check these control arm links. And they're a little loose. They're not, they would pass a safety, but you know what? You're in here, and they should be tighter than that. They're a ball and socket as well. And they can make noise. They can make a bit of a clunking noise. So my recommendation would be, you're going to be in here changing a tie rod end, changing this whole lower control arm. And you can also see the bushing here. It's kind of starting to come apart. It's starting to separate. So it's a good thing that the control arm is one piece with the ball joint. So a tie rod end, lower control arm, and I'm going to do a link on this side too for sure. Again, it passes a safety, but I shouldn't be able to wiggle that by hand. Should have to put a pair of pliers on there. So you might as well do it while you're in here. Now we look at the pads right down in here. We got a lot of meat left in there. Lots. There's lots going on there. And see how it's clean on the outside? And this was only a very short test drive. So I'm going to pull the calipers and the saddles out, and I'm going to take the rotor off, and I'm going to use my flapper disc and clean off the rust on the backside, give the front a clean up. I'm going to clean and service the caliper and lube everything and put it back together because there's still lots of brakes going. If it were my own, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But what I do see here is this cotter pin is not correct. See how it's sitting down in the hole? Somebody had axle shafts or something out at one point. Those need to be replaced. It's the wrong cotter pin. So that's just me. All right, let's go to the other side. So now we know what we need here is pull the calipers, pull the saddles, take off the rotor, take my flapper disc. The outside and the inside takes about 5 minutes. Clean and lube everything. Clean and lube the pads. There's the pads here. So we're going to clean and lube everything and refresh everything. The vehicle's been sitting for a year, which isn't too bad. That's not too bad. All right, let's check the other side. See what we got. Now, I've already looked at the rears, so I'm not going to bore you and take the rear wheels off. We're into exactly the same service on the rear. It's rear disc brakes. Same thing. The rotors take the calipers off, take the pads out, take the pins out in the bushings, clean and lube, take the flapper wheel to the discs, the disc brake rotors, clean them on the inside, and on the outside, put it all back together. What I did notice was the emergency brake does not hold. That is part of a safety inspection. And the reason being is on this vehicle, the disc brake rotors have drums on the inside, and that's where your emergency brake shoes are. They just need adjusting. That's all. But that I discovered. Emergency brake must hold in forward, in drive, and in reverse with your foot off the brake. And it doesn't hold either way. So the rear shoes are way out of adjustment, way out. So again, full brake service on the back, not replacement. I did not say replacement. Service. Did you take my bar, Skippy? Okay. All right. Okay, I'll let you off the hook this time. All right, so we're going to perform the same duties on this side, exactly same as the other. What we just did. And folks, you check both sides. I know some fellas, they'll pull one front wheel, one rear wheel. But here's what I discovered over the years. If there is a problem, I can guarantee you with the brakes or suspension or whatever, the problem's going to be on the wheel that you did not take off. So you take off all four, you check all four exactly the same. So I'm getting underneath that tie rod end so I can give that lower ball joint a really good go. And this one, she's tight. I would pass that. With a recommendation, and my recommendation would be this, is you're taking that one on the passenger side out, the lower control arm. Why not just put another new one in here and start from square one? Same. And that's what we're doing with Vanna White, is she's getting a control arm on both sides. Not just doing one, we're doing both. They're both the same age, so that's what I say on this. I mean, if money is super tight, this one passes, that one does not. Okay, so let's see if we got any movement in the tie rod end now. And you can generally see it from the outside, the wiggle. This one's good. This one's good. So now we want to have a look. Let's have a look in, pull the wheel. Let's have a look at the brakes on this side and make sure that if we can get away with a full service. So in other words, just clean and lube. Clean, and which is what you're going to do anyway. You're going to do anyway. Twice a year I do every vehicle that we have. I pull the wheels, and I generally I work it with changing my summer tires over to my winters, and vice versa. From my winter to my summer, I do a full brake service at the same time. That way I'm doing it twice a year. Just so you know, I pre-did this. So you're not going to leave me a comment and say, well, that wheel could have come off. You're right, because I did. I took it off yesterday because I wanted to have just kind of a pre-look. So I did most of my evaluation yesterday so that I could share it with you today. And we've got the same tire wear, you see? Exactly the same. So we got a toe situation. It needs an alignment, in other words. You should be getting a four-wheel alignment on your car once a year. At the very least, once every 2 years. Because that could have been prevented and could have been caught. It's got a tie rod end that's worn, but it could have been caught sooner if somebody would have been on top of that. And you would catch that. If I was doing an oil change on this vehicle, I always checked front ends on vehicles. I would have caught that on an oil change and made the recommendation and saved the tire. It would have lasted a lot longer, but I can tell you, no one has been rotating tires front to backs on each side. So front, because tires are now directional, you can't go corner to corner like this, like an X anymore. It's side, front to back. So these should have been moved to the back a long time ago. And the general rule of thumb for that's the next bonus tip. You make sure you tell your service tech that every second oil change you want your tires rotated. They last a lot longer. Okay, we got the same thing going on here. Again, we got a really bad idea about this cotter pin. And when we go inside, I will show you the actual cotter pin that should be in there. That's incorrect. The boot is worn right out on this on this tie rod. And see in there, there's no grease and it's metal to metal. See that in there, how shiny that metal is? There's no grease been in this tie rod end for a long time, and it's wearing really, really bad, but it's still, there's no wiggle there. So this has got to be changed. Does it pass? Yes. It passes because there's no side to side movement. In and out, other words. Some people say that's in and out. We call it's side to side. It has zero side to side movement. But the boot is wide open. It's got no lubrication. The ball could seize or wear out the joint or pop itself apart. So I'm calling that, on behalf of the customer, that it's a wear and tear item. You could leave it, but I wouldn't, because if you can't stop it or steer it, nothing else matters, right? Even if the radio works good, you're going to the rhubarb patch. So again, the rotor has some surface rust. It's been parked since last October. We're at the tail end of September. So October 24 to October 25, it's been parked on a paved driveway, moisture. And you can really see in here. I've got my pen here. Skippy, did you take my pen for Pete's sake? Okay, this is my pointer. I'm looking right in here. I got lots of meat. If I had a brand new set of pads here, you'd be hard pressed to say it's worn off a 16th or so of pad. They're almost brand new. So again, I'm going to pull the caliper off, the saddle off. I'm going to clean and lube the heel and the toe on the saddle. Make sure the pads, all the moving components, the pins in here, same thing. I'm going to pop them out and lube them. While I got that assembly off, I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to take my flapper wheel to it and clean it up. Do the same on the inside. There's tons of meat on this rotor. If it were my own, that would be a really bad decision maker to just chuck this all in the garbage. No. The CV boots are good on both sides. So that's about it. That's about all we're really looking at steering wise. So let's talk about it and compare it to the sheet, and then I'll put the wheel back on temporarily. Let's talk about it. Okay, let's go to the sheet. Let's see what they've put, and let's go through the front end suspension and steering components and brakes, because we've covered that very, very easily. Shall we? Yes, we shall. I will bite my thumb at you. Way too much English class, way too much. Okay, get in here, Skippy. Let's show them what we got. Okay, so let's go to the parts side. And the reason I'm going to the parts side first is I'm seeing what they're billing out. And again, I want to say I'm not picking on the shop. I'm not picking on the tech that did the check over. It's always good to get, in this day and age with anything, any trade, get 2 to 3 estimates. If you still don't feel good after a second one, get a third one. Okay, so they're saying brake service kit. So that would be my clean and lubrification. And disc brake rotor, they're calling the rotors. So 2 at 127.87 a piece, so you're into 255.74. I can clean those up and still be well within spec. With my flapper disc, which it just takes off the light stuff, it doesn't grind away material. It's just so you know. What I do is I'll show you when we go inside. I'm going to show you 2 things. I save my flapper discs from when they're new so that they're not as coarse, they're worn down, and I save those for just that cause, for cleaning. If I'm doing some welding and I want to clean up a piece of material that's got some flash rust on it, I use those flapper discs just to clean off that flash rust that's very light. I don't want to take material off. I just want to take the light flash rust off, and that's what I'm going to do on those rotors. So I'm not calling rotors. I'm saying I can very easily clean those off, and they'll be well within safety regulations. Brake pads, we have lots of brake pad. They're not rotten, they're not broken, they're not coming apart. So another $152.02 is a no on my list. I don't need to replace them. We've got a control arm ball joint lower front. Which one? They're calling. They're just calling them, not calling it left or right. So they're calling one. They're calling both. Whereas the driver's side, the ball joint is not worn. The passenger side, it's definitely worn. So they're calling two control arms with ball joints, lower fronts, $263.96 each. I'm calling for safety, it needs one. For maintenance and preventative maintenance, I would do both. But if money's tight, safety-wise, the driver's side passes. In my professional opinion, the right side does not. It's definitely knocking, definitely knocking. We have an oil change on there. Okay, let's go over to the labor side. So we have brake inspection, inspect brake material thickness and brake rotor thickness. That's where my evaluation changes. Is there's lots of rotor thickness and there's lots of pads. They just need servicing. So that would not be on my list. So we have caliper and wheel cylinder operation, general inspection, road test vehicle, inspect steering system, inspect front and rear suspension, inspect fluids and inspect brakes. Okay, so that's the charge for that. Is labor's $99.95. Says car was towed in and doesn't start and the AC doesn't work. Well, one question comes to mind. How did they know the AC works or doesn't work if it didn't start? I think that's just a mistake in the writing. That's all I think. So they're saying inspect AC system for operation and refrigerant leaks and recharge the AC system. So we're going to move to that next. We're going to fire the system up. They're saying $89.95 to do an evac and dye test and recharge. And the oil and dye is going to be another $20, so over $100 in that. So we're going to verify, does the AC work or not? And then I'm going to clue you in. We will look at fluids ourselves and make an evaluation there. So they're calling replace front brake pads and rotors and service the calipers. I agree with the service the calipers. I disagree with the rotors and the pads. Both can be cleaned and serviced and put back into service. So that's going to save you another $212.80 on my evaluation. A wheel alignment, yes, it definitely needs a wheel alignment. Control arm, remove and place. This is where they're saying remove and replace both sides. It's almost $500 in labor. So again, if money's tight and you can't put money into a preventative maintenance and change the driver's side lower control arm at this point, it passes a safety, the driver's side. The passenger side does not. So you could save half of that labor right there. And say maybe 6 months or 12 months down the road, you do the other side. And you won't need an alignment because the alignment won't be out. Because you can only set the toe and take the dough. I made that up. Because that's all you can adjust on this, is the toe in, toe out. Caster and camber are not changeable or adjustable. We've got, what else have we got? Oil, a synthetic oil change on there. Semi-synthetic tie rod end, okay? I'm calling a right outer tie rod end. It doesn't pass the safety. Left side does, although there is a problem with it. So tie rod end. How much is the tie rod end? Did they actually have it on here? Ball joint, ball joint. I don't even see a tie rod end on here. Isn't that interesting? Where does that come in? That's lower control arm ball joint, lower control arm ball joint. It's not priced out, the tie rod. But they've got tie rod end, remove and replace. Includes adjust toe only. There you go. deduct 0.4 if alignment is also performed. But a four-wheel alignment, the rears on this vehicle, this '08 Nissan, are adjustable if required, but it's a lot of work. It requires shimming the hubs on the rear. So they're just going to set toe in, toe out, but there's no tie rod on here anywhere. We got the brake service kit. We got brake rotors front for 2. We have the brake pads. We have a lower control arm, another lower control arm, and an oil change. And the air conditioning dye and oil. But we just have labor for the tie rod, but the part component's not there. So they're quoting $2,475.78, but there's going to be a 5 o'clock surprise. There's got to be a tie rod end in there. So anyways, I'm calling a passenger front tie rod end for sure. Tie rod end, remove and replace right front outer. There's no comment on the left side at all. So $84 to change one tie rod end. It's 0.6 of an hour, which is correct. The 0.6 is correct. I don't know what their hourly rate is. It doesn't matter. We're not here to scrutinize that much. So I'm saying I agree with the tie rod end right front, but definitely for safety reasons, the boot is torn wide open on the driver's side, should definitely be replaced. You're going to do an alignment anyway. I agree with that 100% because there is premature tire wear. So yeah, and I see here recommendations is an engine air filter and a left and right front stabilizer link. I commented on that. It seemed to be a little wiggly. I would agree with that. See, here's the thing. Those links to pass the vehicle to pass the safe, they only have to be attached at both ends. That's the rule book. As long as they're attached at both ends, and that goes for shock absorbers as well. It can be leaking, it can be rusted, but as long as that shock absorber is attached at both ends, it passes a safety inspection according to the MOT rule book on safety. So the stabilizer links, that would be a preventative maintenance measure, and I would agree with that. I would agree with that. So where I disagree is one control arm doesn't need to be replaced. Brakes do not need to be replaced on the front. So pads, calipers, rotors can all be cleaned, lubed, serviced, put back into service. Now we're going to go and let's just take a quick check of the fluids and see what we got. I did notice something yesterday right away, right off the bat, because I was, excuse me, I was checking stuff. Now we checked this on the first video. The oil is spotless. It's spotless. And the reason being is the sticker on the windshield says that we have lots of time since the last oil change. So they do reference it here. Last oil change was the 5th of October 2023, and it's been parked for a year. Almost a year. So October the 5th, 2024 to October the 5th, 2025, it's the odometer's at 119 and 121,600. So 121,600 kilometers is the next oil change. I'm going to ride it out. It's semi-synthetic. The oil is clean. It's clean as a whip. Doesn't need an oil change. Here's what I did notice. The washer fluid is totally empty, and the engine coolant overflow is empty. It's empty. There may be a hair bit in there, but you're going to have a hard time sucking that out with a straw, especially the paper ones these days. Yeah, it should be up to, there's a mark. See if you come in from that direction, Skippy. I'll just grab my little oil splurpies there. There's the mark. Right where my finger is max. And there's minimum. and I can just see a little color at the bottom. So it needs to be up here. So in other words, to this seam, and it isn't. So coolant is low, definitely. The other thing I noticed when I came in here was this cap was missing off the AC, and you can see it's shiny. They lost it. The tech lost it. I put this on here. These should never be left open. That's the high side of the system. That's the low side. They always need to be covered. I didn't have the proper thread on, but this one fits pretty good, and it's going to keep the crud out of the Schrader valve in there. Okay, what's our next step? Well, let's have a looky-see. You climb in from the passenger side there, Skippy, and we're going to throw it on, start it up, in other words, and we're going to put the AC on, and we're going to check and see what it pulls for a temperature. If it's not working like they say, then there'll be no problem. There'll be no problems. So we're going to climb in. What I did notice is the driver's side door needs an upper door hinge. The door is hanging. Okay, I'm getting in. And I'm going to use my thermal heat gun to get us a temperature right out of the dash, deadly accurate. So how am I working? I am running at, I should be dead. I'm running at 89.5. What am I supposed to be at? I don't know if I can point this at myself. You're not supposed to shoot yourself in the eye. Whoa, dude. Okay, let's go. Enough horsing around. Okay, what we're going to do here to verify air conditioning on this checkover reevaluation, they say the air conditioning does not work. So I'm going to go to max AC. So I want penguins coming out of the dash. Max AC, recirculate, and I want low fan speed. That's your coldest temperature. And you want to go as close to the evaporator core as possible. So what I generally do is I will take a reading from the center dash towards the glove box because the evap is in behind there somewhere. And then I'll take a reading from the outside vent. Okay, so let's go. Come on now. Okay, I got my laser on. And max AC. I want it on dash. No. Max AC. Yeah. Can you read that, Skippy? We're at 50 degrees. And let's get the refrigerant really rolling here. Compressor just kicked in. Okay, I'm going to do one more test, and I'm going to just quickly grab my thermometer out of my FJ Cruiser and stick it in the dash. I always run with a thermometer in my dash, and the reason, it's just a habit. I like to see what the HVAC system is doing. So let's take my thermometer out of my truck and stick it in the dash on the 08 Nissan, and let's see how the digital thermo heat gun shows us a difference. So I'm just moving through the campus here. How does he do it? How does he do that? He goes in one door and comes out the other. I don't know. Okay, let's get the thermometer. That's okay. That just fell on the floor. All right, so we're going to take my thermometer that I always have in my dash. As I said, I like to monitor what's going on in my HVAC. So when I'm making heat and when I'm making air conditioning, I like to see what's going on. So I could probably wiggle this down a little bit. These probably turn. Well, I'll tell you, it's getting cold in here. I think I'm gonna need to put my flannel nightie on or something. Can you read that? Yeah, what do you see? I see like 40, 48, 47. 45 Fahrenheit. I'm going to 110% say the air conditioning system's running pretty decent. As a preventative maintenance, you might want to, the age of the car, you might want to do an evac and a recharge. That's it. For me, that's what I would do. Every 2 years I do an evac, so I evacuate all the old refrigerant out and I put a fresh refrigerant in as a maintenance, just like kind of like an oil change, but for an air conditioning. We've just hit 40 Fahrenheit. That's almost cold enough to hang beef, but not quite. But that gives you a pretty cold cola, I would say. So I'm going to say air conditioning, 100%. It does not need to be dye tested, but again, as a preventative measure, as a preventative maintenance, I would just do an evac and a recharge just to refresh the system. But even if you didn't, you're pulling 40 Fahrenheit, and this gauge has been really accurate. Really, really accurate. So there you have it. Does not need air conditioning, period. It is good to go. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. As I said on the rear brakes, I've already looked at those. We're into exactly the same service on the rear as the front, except one additional would be nobody's commented on the emergency brakes. The pedal goes down, it releases. The small brake shoes in the back need adjusting. So at the time of pulling the calipers off, the caliper saddle, and taking the rotors off, to just skim the surface rust off and clean them up so the brake pads don't wear down the rust and wear down the brake pads prematurely. Full service on the back, grease and lube, all the moving components. Adjust those emergency shoes, top drawer, out the door. So it does not need brakes all the way around. But I noticed, another thing I noticed on the list, no comments on the rear brakes, only front brakes. How come it is? Maybe the tech overlooked it. I would hope he just overlooked that. But if you're selling a vehicle and you're selling it, wanting to sell it certified, you need to know all the details. It needs a rear brake service. and the emergency brake doesn't hold in forward or reverse. That doesn't pass a safety. But what I find interesting is we called out the pads and the rotors on the front, but this car, also the rear of the car, sat for almost a year as well. The back wheels sat the same amount of time, and there's no comment on the rear brakes. Very interesting. But I do. It needs a service on the back, same as the front. Keep the rotors down, set the toe, down the road you go. So till next time, have fun, keep it under 100, and put the coffee on. We're going to come to your house. Don't forget to like, subscribe, your comments down below. Have you ever run into this before? Have you ever had a vehicle inspected and wondered, did they miss anything? Did they put too much on the estimate to fix it? Does it really need that much work? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, ring the bell so you're notified when we go live for live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and when new videos come out. And I'll give you a clue. Every Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday, 1 for Friday, every week. Catch us on Stevensvilleontheweb.ca. Click on the businesses tab, and you'll find us there, where you'll find bloopers and outtakes and crazy stuff that Skippy posts there and doesn't tell me. Yeah, I'm onto it. What else do we need? Facebook. Have you liked, followed us on Facebook? Because you should. Niall Motormouth Jenkins. And visit our website, carconnectionbusinessnetwork.com. You'll find a link there for our merch store. Get yourself some Car Connection t-shirts, hats, hoodies. What else do we have? Hats, winter hats, toques. Our American friends don't know what those are. They call them winter hats. What? Beanies. I call them beanies, but often get corrected. So we have lots of stuff there for you. You order safely online, pick your size, pick your color, and it gets delivered directly to your door. So thank you from Skippy and I, because that keeps us in coffee and donuts and helps to pay for the YouTube videos. Right now, every piece of merchandise in our store is $5 above cost. So we're giving you a break to help give us a break. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by. Ring the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.